begins with a rare kind of Hollywood moment, honest, unfiltered, and unexpectedly emotional, as Chris Hemsworth and Halle Berry sit down for an intimate discussion about their new crime thriller, Crime 101, a project that not only brought two global stars together for the first time, but also opened the door to deeper conversations about aging, identity, career fears, and even the possibility of superhero history repeating itself. What begins as a casual promotional interview quickly transforms into something far more personal, a reflection on decades in Hollywood and the emotional weight that comes with surviving an industry obsessed with reinvention. From the very start, both actors shared genuine surprise that their paths had never crossed professionally before. Considering their long and successful careers, it almost feels like fate finally corrected a missed opportunity. Their chemistry is effortless, filled with laughter and playful teasing, hinting that this collaboration might only be the beginning. Jokes about future sequels and crossover dreams quickly surface, including playful references to massive franchise films and whispered possibilities that instantly ignite fan excitement. The atmosphere feels relaxed, but underneath the humor lies a shared respect that defines their working relationship. For Halle, the experience of filming Crime 101 stands out as one of the most fulfilling moments of her entire career, a statement that carries enormous weight coming from an Academy Award-winning actress with decades of experience. She openly credits her co-stars, including Barry Keoghan and Mark Ruffalo, for creating an environment rooted in respect and collaboration. She explains that for the first time in years, she felt fully supported on set, describing an atmosphere where ego disappeared and creativity thrived. According to her, the tone was set from the top by director Bart Layton, whose leadership encouraged equality and professionalism rather than hierarchy. Halle's words carry emotional depth when she reveals that such treatment has not always been the norm for women in Hollywood. She speaks candidly about how rare it has been to feel genuinely uplifted during production, especially as a woman navigating an industry long criticized for unequal standards. Her honesty turns the conversation from a movie promotion into a powerful commentary on the evolving culture of filmmaking. Chris listens carefully, visibly moved, admitting that hearing her describe the experience is both heartwarming and heartbreaking. Heartwarming because the collaboration worked so well, but heartbreaking because respect should never feel exceptional. Chris reflects on entering the project with nerves of his own. Despite his global fame, he confesses that working alongside Halle initially intimidated him. To him, she was already a cinematic legend, someone whose presence demanded excellence. That vulnerability sets the tone for one of the interview's most striking revelations. Even actors who headline billion-dollar franchises struggle with doubt. Chris openly discusses experiencing imposter syndrome, admitting that success has never completely erased insecurity. Even after starring in some of the biggest films ever made, he still questions himself when projects fail or when box office expectations aren't met. The conversation naturally shifts toward action filmmaking, particularly the intense practical driving sequences in Crime 101. Chris describes the thrill of performing real stunts rather than relying on green screens, comparing the experience to earlier work, including his racing drama Rush. He explains how physically participating in the action creates authenticity that audiences can feel, recalling sweaty, adrenaline-filled moments behind the wheel that blurred the line between actor and character. For him, practical filmmaking reconnects performers to the raw excitement that first drew them to cinema. Yet, the most powerful section of the conversation arrives when aging in Hollywood becomes the focus. Halle shares a deeply personal reaction to a line from the film referencing age limits and industry expectations. The dialogue struck her so strongly that she paused the movie and wrote it down, recognizing how closely fiction mirrored her real-life experiences. She speaks openly about approaching 60 and refusing to accept the industry's outdated narrative that age diminishes value. Her words carry defiance and empowerment as she insists that age is merely a number, not a creative expiration date. She explains that throughout her career, she has faced multiple barriers, as a woman, as a black actress, and now as someone entering a new stage of life professionally. Rather than viewing these challenges as setbacks, she describes them as realities she has learned to carry while continuing forward. The honesty resonates deeply, transforming the discussion into a broader reflection on resilience. She refuses to allow anyone else to define when her career should slow down or end, emphasizing that passion and purpose cannot be measured by birthdays. Chris acknowledges that while male actors experience aging differently, the standards remain uneven. He admits that men are often allowed to grow older on screen, while women face harsher scrutiny. Although he jokes about being cast as more fatherly characters now, he recognizes the pressure women endure is far greater. The conversation highlights a gradual shift within the industry, progress that exists but moves slower than many would like. Their discussion expands into the unpredictable nature of Hollywood success. Chris describes how quickly fortunes can change depending on box office performance. One week brings endless offers, another brings silence. He reveals how these fluctuations once deeply affected his sense of self-worth, forcing him to question where validation truly comes from. Over time, he learned that fulfillment cannot rely solely on awards or financial success, but must come from personal growth and relationships outside the industry. Halle echoes this philosophy, explaining that the real reward lies in the work itself rather than public reception. Once a film leaves an actor's hands, countless external factors determine its success: marketing decisions, editing choices, audience timing, and even global events. The only thing performers can control is their effort and commitment during creation. By focusing on that process, she found peace with both triumphs and disappointments. The conversation takes another heartfelt turn when Halle discusses her personal life, revealing details about her engagement to musician Van Hunt. She admits that before meeting him, she had reached a point where she believed lasting love might not be part of her story. After years of relationships and personal growth, she chose to focus on herself and her children, accepting the possibility of being alone. Ironically, it was only after reaching that emotional acceptance that love arrived unexpectedly. Her story becomes a message of hope as she explains how years of self-reflection changed her standards and helped her recognize the partnership she truly needed. Finding love later in life, she says, proved that happiness doesn't follow a strict timeline. Her honesty adds warmth to the interview, reminding viewers that even global celebrities face the same emotional uncertainties as anyone else. As the discussion continues, the topic inevitably returns to superheroes, specifically Halle's iconic role as Storm from the X-Men franchise. Fans have long wondered whether she might reprise the weather-controlling mutant, and playful speculation arises about her potentially joining Chris's world as Thor in a future Marvel project. References to upcoming crossover possibilities like Avengers Doomsday spark excitement, though both actors laugh off rumors while carefully avoiding confirmation. The idea of Storm standing alongside Thor in the expanding Marvel Studios universe feels like a dream scenario for longtime fans. Even without official answers, the conversation highlights how deeply these characters remain connected to audiences decades later. Halle reflects on the lasting legacy of portraying Storm, acknowledging how meaningful the role continues to be for viewers who grew up seeing themselves represented on screen. The possibility of revisiting that character carries emotional significance beyond nostalgia. It represents unfinished storytelling and evolving representation within superhero cinema. Throughout the interview, interviewer Nichelle Turner guides the conversation with thoughtful questions that allow both actors to reveal vulnerabilities rarely seen in promotional appearances. Discussions about reinvention, fear, and fulfillment blur the boundary between celebrity and humanity. Chris admits that despite fame, he still searches for balance between ambition and personal happiness, constantly re-evaluating what success truly means. In the end, the discussion circles back to the film itself, a story about loyalty, risk, and realizing that time may be more limited than we believe. That theme resonates deeply with both actors, mirroring their real-life reflections on career longevity and personal growth. The film becomes more than entertainment. It becomes a metaphor for transformation and the courage required to embrace new chapters. What emerges from this candid exchange is not just excitement about a new movie, but a portrait of two performers standing at meaningful crossroads in their lives. One reflects on decades of breaking barriers and redefining expectations, while the other confronts vulnerability behind blockbuster success. Together, they reveal that even in Hollywood's glittering spotlight, uncertainty never disappears, it simply evolves.
In the end, the conversation leaves audiences with a powerful realization. Careers, relationships, and identity are never fixed destinations. They are ongoing journeys shaped by resilience, self-discovery, and the willingness to keep moving forward despite doubt. Whether discussing aging, love, or the possibility of superhero reunions, Chris Hemsworth and Halle Berry remind us that reinvention is not a sign of fading relevance, it is proof of growth. And sometimes, the most compelling stories aren't the ones told on screen, but the honest moments shared when the cameras keep rolling and the masks finally come off.